Hello and welcome to Thursdays with Annette. I'm in the kitchen cooking you a great recipe that's fantastic for an easy lunch or dinner, great for picnics, or if you want to take it to an event coming up with the festive season, it'll be perfect. So what am I making? Well, I'm going into one of my favourite books. I've got 8 favourites. Number 3 is what we're cooking out of today, and I'm making this wonderful salmon bake. Now, it's a fantastic recipe. I love making it. We often have it because we like it as a lunch with some salad. But if you're saying, Annette, you've lost me at salmon, don't worry, you can change it. And I will tell you how you can make it with tuna or chicken as we go along. It's not in the cookbook, so this is a special little thing I'm going to tell you today. All right, so what do we need? We need to talk about the winners. That's right, last week's show was the bacon egg potato salad, and it's just such a great salad. Once again, to take to events or anything like that leading into Christmas is perfect. It's out of book 6, and we have 3 very happy winners: Beth Doolan, Meryl Aldridge, and Annette Sym. Love your name, Annette. Must be fabulous. Anyway, so they've all got a personally signed copy of book 6 on the way. And of course, I'll be giving away at the end of the show, so stay tuned for that. All right, so now this recipe is just super easy because you basically chop it all up, chuck in the bowl, mix it up, and we're going to throw it in the oven. So my oven is preheated to 180 degrees, fan forced, ready to go. I've got this dish, which is like a quiche dish that I'm using for it. You could put it into a pie plate if you wished, but that's what I'm going to use today. Now, we're starting with onion, and we're going to use half a cup finely diced, because in the bake you want it to just all blend in together. You don't want this big chunk of onion in your mouth. We're also going to do half a cup of red capsicum because I like the colour scheme. So that's why I've chose red. We're going to do parsley, and we will need 3 tablespoons chopped. That's freshly out of my garden, my little herb garden. Now we need 3 eggs, but we're only going to use 1 whole egg, and then we're going to use 2 egg whites. And this is how I've saved 12 grams of fat straight up by not using the yolks in all the eggs. It will work perfectly, it's fabulous, and it's going to be good for your hips as well. We need some lemon juice, milk. I've got some dried dill here, which is going to be beautiful with the salmon. And as you can see, I've got a can of drained pink salmon, and that's a 415 gram can. Now, if you wanted to change it to tuna, you would use it, so you don't want salmon, to use spring water salmon, drain it, and that works out to be 300 grams of weight, just so you know. Or just take out the 415 gram can of tuna, you'll be fine. Now, if you wanted to replace it with chicken, remember I mentioned that, what you could do is, in the beginning, you would chop up 400 grams of skinless chicken breast, small diced, pan fry it so it's just browned off, and then chuck it in when you're putting everything else in, and it will finish cooking in the oven. So 400 grams, skinless chicken breast, small dice, brown it off, in it goes. So then it becomes a chicken bake. And everything else keep as the same. All right, so now we also have the pasta, which I'm using the macaroni. I find this really good for a bake, and I use them in all my bakes. And if you're gluten intolerant, you would replace that with gluten-free pasta. And as well, if you're dairy-free, you would replace the cheese and the milk with dairy-free options. So you've got that variable if you need that. So to make this, it says 2 cups are cooked. And if you wanted to know what it was raw, try 3/4 cup raw, and you should get 2 cups out of that. So 3/4 cup raw macaroni pasta should yield you 2 cups cooked. We've also got some corn. I've used the frozen corn. Who doesn't love it's easy? We need half a cup of that. I've also divided my cheese up, and I'm using the low-fat tasty cheese. I've grated it, and I've got you'd need a total of 75 grams or 3/4 cup. And what I've done is I've put half a cup here and a quarter there, because that way I won't forget it, because we need some for the top. And you'll see as I go anyway. So I think we're ready to start. So, okay, what will we do first? I think I always like to get the onion out of the way. And then what we'll do is I'll beat the egg. So I'm just going to chop up the onion. We want half a cup. And remember, it's finely diced. So I'm just going to do my usual way, but I'm going to go right in closer as I can. And when you're cutting it, just go fairly close to the edge. Don't go too far back. Just that way you'll get lovely fine onion. And as I said, we need half a cup. I've got my little measure here. Let's see how we're going. Thanks for joining me today. Now remember, if you're going to make this, I would preheat your oven like I have to 180 degrees. Put it on before you start, and that way then you want to have the oven hot when you are putting anything in the oven. That's why it always says preheat. That's what that means. Okay, onion. I'm going to just pop that in the bowl here. What I might do actually, to be a little bit clever, I might actually, before I finish all the other chopping, is do the bowl and make the egg mix up. Because what I can do then, as I'm thinking about it, let's make the eggs mix first, and then I'm going to just chuck everything in as I go. So who doesn't love an easy peasy recipe like that? So I always start with the yolk, the whites, just in case something happens and one slips in. So let's see how I go. There we go. So that's 1 egg white. We need 2 egg whites. Here we go. Awesome. And now I'll happily just put in the whole egg. There we go. All right, so we don't need that anymore. I'm going to just use a whisk today. I mean, you could use a electric beater if you wish, but I'm just going to make it easy for myself. Combine the eggs, and then we're going to put in a cup of skim milk. And that way I've saved nearly 10 grams of fat by using skim milk opposed to traditional milk, you know, the full fat milk. And really, you don't notice it. I mean, I found one of the big changes when I lost my weight was going away from the full fat milk. And now, of course, I just can't have it because it's just way too creamy. All right, so our base is done. I might put it over here so I can just throw in as I go. Love that. All right, so let's do the onion first. Let's pop that in. This is what I love about my recipes, hey, they're just so quick and easy. Now I'm going to get my knife back again, and I'm going to do half a cup of red capsicum. And I'm going to do that finely diced as well. So cut it fairly thin. You don't want to do big thick chunks, and that way you'll get that small pieces of the capsicum in the mix. And I think the red really does look really pretty in the mix. All right, so we need half a cup. So there's only really, I have grated the cheese ahead, so you know you've just got to grate up some cheese as well. I always say freshly grated because I find that you get better value out of grating a block of cheese opposed to buying it already grated, because it doesn't melt as well and is thicker and, and heavier. So it seems like you get less cheese, and I like to get what I'm entitled to. Okay, that's it. Where are we going? Into the mix. All right, so we'll put that over here. Now I'm going to do the parsley next, and we want 3 tablespoons. And so what I tend to do, and I've washed it ahead because you should always wash the parsley, is what I'm going to do is I'm going to just crunch it together, because I find this much easier, and then I'm just going to go through, hold it firmly, and just go through and slice the heads of the parsley up. See, and I'm just going to leave those sticks. Don't need them. And here we go. And now I'm just going to just finely chop up the parsley. We want 3 tablespoons. It's amazing how it shrinks down when you start doing what I'm doing. And I know when I say in there a herb, I really hope you do bother to put it in, because every ingredient I put in the recipes is for a reason. And the parsley really goes so well with this dish. And the fresh is so good. And I find, you know, if you buy a bunch, then, you know, put it on salad or, you know, find some other ways to use up what you have so you're not wasting it. All right, so we want 3 tablespoons. There we go. Just remember that I'm using my 15 ml tablespoon. Now I've done a little bit too much because I got a bit excited, but I'm happy because I'll put that into my salad tomorrow. All right, now we also need a tablespoon of lemon juice. So, and if your lemon isn't out of the fridge, like this is room temperature, you will find that it actually squeezes way much more juice out. Or you could put it in the microwave for like 30 seconds and that way then you will actually get more juice out of your lemon. Tablespoon going in. Here we are. Fantastic. Let's move this all out of the way. And then what I'm going to do before I do the salmon, I'm going to put in the corn. So maybe that's half a cup frozen corn. And I'm going to put in the half a cup of the cheese. So it's going in as well. And I'm just going to give that a bit of a mix up. Oh, you can see, look, it's once again one of those easy peasy recipes that I love to make for you. Now, what I'm going to do, I'm not going to just go like this and put it in. Don't do that. Break up your salmon, okay? And when you get a bone, what you want to do is, because no one really likes to get that chunk of bone in, so here's a bit of bone, I just crush it because you want that extra calcium that's in those bones. So when you come across a bone, just press it down with your fingers and it will crush very easily. And now once again, you would do, as I said, if you don't want the salmon, and I use pink for a lot of recipes because it is actually lower in fat than the red salmon. A lot of people don't realise that. All right, so I'm going to put my salmon in. I'm feeling it as I go, making sure I haven't got a bit of bone in there. My kids hate the bone, but I always put it in. I remember Mum used to always take it out when I was a kid, but I want that calcium in there for everybody. Actually, the dietitian tip is really interesting, and I want to read that to you. She says here, a low saturated fat, low GI recipe that incorporates omega-3 fatty acids ideal for heart health. See, so we focus all on weight loss, but you're cooking so healthy when you do it my way as well. Okay, let's wash my little salmon fingers. So what you would have done if you had done chicken, you would have panned it off and then put that in there browned, yeah? So now we need half a teaspoon of dried dill. And this is what I love about these spoons is they fit really well into the jars. And that will just give it an extra lift as well. And all we've got to do now is give it a good mix. And then we're going to add in the pasta, which is, remember, is already cooked. So there's your mix. Looking a bit colourful and fabulous, isn't it? Look at that. And it needs to be a little bit wet like it is now because of the pasta going in. And remember the oven, 180 degrees, preheated. All right, 2 cups cooked pasta going in. Now, if you love a bake, but you know, a particular pasta bake, well, I've got several for you out of my cookbooks. So I made a list up for you. So there is the pizza pasta bake in book 4, which is one of my favourites. There's also this one, which is the salmon bake out of book 3. There's also a simple tuna bake in book 6. I think I've done that on the show. And chicken bacon pasta bake. And that's in book 7, and it's also in the cooking for 1 or 2. So you can make it just for 2 if you find this is too much. Now the Mexican chicken bake is another one that's delicious in book 6. Macaroni beef, who doesn't love macaroni beef, book 2. And then you've got creamy tuna bake, and that's in book 4, as well as in cooking for 1 or 2. So this is mixing up beautifully. I've just got to spray my quiche dish. You could also do it in a small lasagna dish if you wanted. Sometimes I do that if I'm making it for a buffet sort of thing, and that way I can cut it into squares opposed to slices, and that seems to be good to have when you're serving up for a few people. All right, so this serves 6. Look at that, isn't that beautiful? Now the fat count for this is 7.5 per serve. You cut it into 6, as I said. Now if you did it with the tuna, it's 5 grams of fat, and if you did it with the chicken breast, skinless chicken breast, 400 grams, it's 5.3 grams of fat. Now that's not written on your recipe, so make a note of that, because I did that for you before I started the show. Worked it out. Okay, now flatten it down. Yes. And last thing, we've just got to put some cheese on the top, and it's going to bake for about 45 minutes in the oven. Remember, it's 180 degrees fan forced. And this is even one of those recipes you can make a day or 2 ahead even, and it just settles down and becomes even more flavoursome the longer you leave it. And I do love it with a lovely crisp salad. So in the oven it goes. Let's put the timer on, 45 minutes. All right, so I'm going to clean up my mess. I'm going to be back with it already cooked, and I can also tell you what I'm going to be making on next week's show. All right, I'll see you shortly. Well, welcome back. My oven's beeping at me right now, so that tells me the salmon bake is ready. So let's get it out of the oven. All right. Oh, it smells really good. There we go. Ooh, salmon bake. Let me just shut my oven. How fabulous does this look? Now, the great thing is that it's one of those ones, as I said, that you can enjoy cold or hot, and it's fantastically 7.5 grams of guilt-free. I mean, who wouldn't be loving this? I mean, really, who knew weight loss could be so deliciously healthy? Now, if you want to win book 3, because this is what the book's out of, the recipe's out of, you just need to like, share, and then in the comments, you know what you got to do. Hashtag simply too good. So hashtag Sym with a Y, too good. Now we'll pick, or I'll pick 3 lucky winners next week to get their own personally signed copy. Now on next week's show, I'm going into book 1. It's a classic book and one of my all-time favorites, and it is always in the top 10 favorite recipes, is the chicken pizziola. So if you've never made that before, you're in for a treat next week. So make sure you tune in and catch me then. So in the meantime, I know what we're having for lunch with some lovely salad. Now, when you do this, you cut it down the middle like this. Then you cut into 3 wedges on each side, and that way you're going to get your 6 serves. So thanks for joining me for another fabulous week, and if you want any more tips or recipes, you know where to find me at simplytoogood.com.au. Just a little heads up, the new More Cooking You Want to Do is at the printers as we speak. So if you're subscribed to my newsletter, then you'll be the first to find out the release date. So if you haven't joined up, just go to simplytoogood.com.au, go down the page, and you'll see the link to sign up for the newsletter. Anyway, I'm excited to cook for you again next week, so catch you then. Bye.